Hello, welcome back. We're going to spend a few minutes today on simplicity and the familiar refrain here that it's simpler than you think. Salvation is simpler than you think. Your reality, truth, is simpler than you think. All of it is very simple. All of it. At the end, we could end our discussion every day, every single video. We could simply say the word one, or we could say God is, or ideas leave not their source, and period, mic drop it and end the entire discussion. And we could. Today's no different. But we introduce massive complications, myriad complications into our lives. So we have more extensive, more elaborate discussions. No problem, right? That's where we find ourselves. So let's talk about it. What is simpler than we think? Well, truth is simpler than we think. We introduce all of the complications. When you think about it, that's exactly what is going on. Truth is one, it's eternal, it's indivisible, it's perfect oneness, which means that there is no separation at all of any kind, anywhere. So there are, in truth, none of our categorizations of our life experience. There's no difference between you and your brother. There's no difference among species. There's not. There's no difference among countries or continents. In truth, there are no political boundaries. What's that but a series of lines that people drew on a map hundreds of years ago in some cases? It's a made-up idea. All of our classifications and subclassifications are completely made up, fabricated, and illusory. Yet we've given them the power to run our lives here in the world. How often do you actually stop your daily activity and think about that? I'm guessing very, very seldom, which is why it's so important that you're on the spiritual path, that you're watching this video, that you're studying and practicing A Course in Miracles. And if you're just checking it out, many of you are about to start. So welcome. It's so important to take this time out, isn't it? It's so valuable because we get caught up in our daily lives. We all do. We've got an email account or multiple email accounts, as the case may be, and people that want something from us and they expect it yesterday. I mean, it's just a constant stream, a bombardment of phenomena. And we can very easily just get swept away in that. And none of it is real. But when we remember to bring our awareness back to our spiritual practice, to forgiveness of the Son of God, or if you're going through the workbook, to the workbook idea, or even taking a single solitary one breath meditation, just taking a couple of seconds, which we all have, despite our protests to the contrary, we all have time for the next breath, I hope. So just whatever it is, it's so important to bring our awareness back to it. That's how we remind ourselves of who we are. So we're wrapping up Chapter 7, Section 9 in the text today, the extension of the kingdom. And the extension of the kingdom simply happens. It simply extends itself. That's what it does. Love extends itself. God extends himself. That's saying the exact same thing. It simply extends. Now, we've also seen the idea very recently here that the kingdom of God is you. Of course it is. Simple, right? There is no separation of any kind. That's one of those simple ideas that we get carried away and effectively choose not to believe. We think that these very, very basic, simple spiritual ideas are so mysterious. We even call it a mystery. It's not a mystery. What mystery? This is not a mystery. We choose to make it a mystery. We choose to make it inaccessible when we identify as a separate being, as an ego, cut off and separate from God, cut off and separate from each other, to the point where there appear to be 8 billion of us and counting, in addition to all the countless other life forms that we've gotten together and classified and subclassified and divided and subdivided and categorized and subcategorized. It's quite simple. Reality simply is. Truth simply is. God is. You've never left your source. We are the thought of God. You are the thought of God, just as this image that you see on your screen. I'm the thought of God. Your brother is the thought of God. Thought. It is not a physical form. You're not the body. This is a complete illusion. So, because there is only perfect oneness, this does mean that your brother is one with you. He is you. She is you. The totality of the kingdom simply is. And yes, it includes everyone. It's all-inclusive. There is no exclusion of any kind because there's no separate other to exclude. So yes, this includes people that have harmed you in this lifetime. It does. It includes your ex. It includes abusive historical dictators. It includes your worst political enemy. 1 equals 1. That is another very, very simple idea that we choose not to believe. So, because that's our choice to awaken is also in our power. We have the power right now to choose our oneness, to choose our strength as Christ. Yes, that's right. As Christ, the thought of God, the extension of God. Love extends itself. It does not extend something different. Love extends itself. Where are you? Who are you? What are you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've never left your source. It's very powerful and energizing and joyful and uplifting to begin to accept this for yourself. When we exclude any part of the kingdom, we exclude the whole. There is no separation of any kind. So the opposite is totally true as well. Let's back up. When we exclude anyone from the kingdom. Any part, your brother, your abusive ex, for example, if you have one of those, someone that you don't like, someone that makes nasty comments on social media that just ignores all conventions of decency because they can and annoys you, right? Whoever that is. When you exclude any part of the kingdom, you exclude the whole. You can't perceive it at all. That's why we say forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. You can't love on 99.9% of the people in this world and save some special forms of hatred for these guys over here. No exclusion. It's total or it's not at all. So when we exclude even one part of the totality of the kingdom, we exclude the entire thing. We can't see it. We don't experience it. Instead, we suffer. What's the solution? Accept. Acceptance is a big theme today. We accept atonement for ourselves. This is a very, very prominent idea in A Course in Miracles, accepting what the Course refers to as atonement for ourselves. What is meant by that is we accept the correction of our inner teacher. We're not seeing things correctly when we exclude. We accept the correction of our inner teacher who shows us inclusiveness. We accept this correction for ourselves. Central to this is acknowledgement. It is the acknowledgement that the separation never occurred. There is no separation of any kind. It's impossible. So we accept this correction for ourselves. What can happen then? Well, when we exclude even one part of the kingdom of God from the whole, we exclude the entire thing. When we perceive even one part totally, fully, as it is, when we see even one brother as he truly is, we see the whole. When you include one, you include the whole. It's just as total as the exclusion. It is our choice to make right here in the present moment as to which we will do. Will we exclude the whole or will we include the whole? Will we perceive our perfect oneness with our brother, with God? Perfect oneness. That's our choice. And yeah, it is that simple. We choose to complicate it. So as we go forward on the path here, as a practical matter, well, we tend to really beat ourselves up. Perhaps you're among those of us that finds forgiveness of other people easier than forgiveness of yourself. When you forgive someone else, understand you're forgiving yourself. There's no separation of any kind, remember. It's very useful as you forgive the Son of God to forgive yourself for dreaming this. Do not neglect that component, because where people get into a lot of trouble and a lot of delay, where they cause themselves needless delays, is in thinking that you're not doing this right, that you're messing it all up somehow. I invite you to consider your waking life every day as a meditation. In a formal seated meditation practice, in the conventional sense, right? There is an object of meditation, which might be the breath, or if it's a guided meditation, it might be the voice of the guide, the instructions of the guide. It may be sound, or it may be a mantra. It might be music that you're meditating to. It could be something that you actually see with the body's eyes open and place your awareness on, like an anchor. Or it could be something that you visualize, but whatever that is, the instruction, the general instruction across spiritual traditions is to notice when you're distracted, when you notice that the mind is carried away thinking about something else, not if, but when you notice, bring your awareness back to the object of meditation. We're instructed to bring our awareness back to the object of meditation without judgment, without calling ourselves a loser, without saying we're a bad person or we can't do this. But of course you can. Of course you can. We simply bring our awareness back to the object of meditation and we let all of the extraneous thoughts go. Just leave them. That's how we get rid of the ego, too. We don't actually rid ourselves of it because it's never been there. We simply disidentify with it. We set it aside, just like those thoughts. We just leave them be and return our awareness to the object of meditation. Return your awareness in waking life, which I invite you to consider like a seated meditation. This may be very helpful to you. When you notice yourself judging, in daily life, when you notice yourself feeling uncomfortable or afraid or depressed or anxious, whatever the feeling is, if it's not wholly joyous, it's an opportunity to forgive. When you notice that your mind is carried off into thoughts of whatever it may be, simply bring your mind back to the idea that you're working with, to forgiveness of the Son of God. Bring your awareness, bring your mind back to the idea in the workbook for students, if that's what you're working with. If you're simply reciting the word one, bring your awareness back to that. Bring your awareness back to taking a quick, yet fully comprehensive and effective one breath meditation. Bring your awareness back to that, perhaps, yes. This is what we do when we notice that we're carried away, because it happens. We've involved ourselves in some pretty complex stuff, to say the least. And while there appear to be a myriad of things that we have to do, we've got a to-do list, and maybe you're getting ready to go to work later today, or to turn on the computer if you work from home and hop on Zoom and chat with people, or whatever it is, right? We've all got to-do lists. We have tasks to do. We got to pay the bills. And the dog needs to go outside. He's standing at the door, scratching at it, whimpering because he has to pee. And then you got to get up and let the dog pee. Things like that. We all have things that we have going on in the world, and it is 100% entirely possible to just do them and not believe in their reality at all, because our reality is one with God, and we literally mean one with. That is literal. So let's accept the correction of our inner teacher for ourselves. We're not separate. The separation never took place. It never occurred. So as you go forward today, I invite you to think about that and just let the power and the truth of that arise in your mind. All right. So thank you, as always, for joining me here. And I really want to invite you to ask questions if you have them. This is a perfect forum for that. And if you have not subscribed yet, I invite you to do that. Go ahead and click this button here. That red arrow in the corner of your screen is the subscription button, and we would love to have you. All right. So as we wrap up here, your commitment and dedication to your practice is the most important offering you could make anyone, anywhere, at any time. Hands down, much, much more important than an offering of service in kind or with money. More than anything, it is your dedication and commitment to practice that truly matters, because it truly impacts every one of us. Why? Because there is no separate other. So everything that you do, to include the totality of the kingdom, includes us all. So for that, I thank you, and I will see you soon.